Back with you now, Peter Brookes, joined by Harry Kazianis, Center for the National Interest Defense Studies Director. Harry, let me start with you. President Trump, so far this has been a fantastic whirlwind trip through Asia. He's been treated with a sort of dignity that we haven't seen in quite a long time, particularly in China. And it looks like he's going to come back with a whole lot of goodies, and perhaps as much as $250 billion in deals. So right now it looks like a major success, but I think ultimately it's going to be viewed on how China reacts with respect to North Korea. Will they continue to put the kind of pressure on North Korea that the world needs to divert a catastrophe?
Charles, this is a great guessing game. We have to remember that every time the United States, in partnership with the UN Security Council, obviously China, we've passed 9 different UN Security Council resolutions that really should drive a hammer through North Korea's economy. North Korea's economy is only worth $14 billion. It's a tiny speck of an economy. So the Chinese have to enforce these sanctions. So far, in the decade plus that we've had these sanctions on them, the Chinese will enforce them for a couple months, and then when us in the media and the talking heads aren't paying attention anymore, they stop. We have to hold them to account this time.
Peter, on the economic side of this, these countries that President Trump visiting, literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of $billions in trade deficits there. President Trump in Japan saying, hey, you got to buy American cars, American defense products. Every single country is going to. He's not making any bones about it. He's being straightforward and direct about this. Do you think this will result in us closing some of these gaps and perhaps even being able to create some bilateral trade deals that can boost our economy?
Well, I hope so. But it's going to take continuing pressure. We need to level the playing field for American businesses, especially, and get market access, and especially in places like China. We have issues of currency, we have issues of intellectual property, theft, forced transfers of technology, the state subsidies to state-owned enterprises in China, dumping. There's a lot of real problems here with U.S.-China economic relations. We also want greater access in other places, as you mentioned, in South Korea and in Japan. But once again, these meetings will result in some deals. But as Harry said, there's going to have to be continued attention to advancing American interests economically in that part of the world.
Harry, what takes precedence, the defense of the region or the economics of the region? In other words, do we give China a break on some of these offenses that they've committed if they do, in fact, pressure North Korea? And the same thing with Japan. If they buy a bunch of our missiles and a bunch of our planes, will we maybe look the other way with respect to them not necessarily buying a lot of our automobiles?
Charles, I think defense is going to come first and foremost here. I think when the Trump administration came into office, they were going to have a get tough approach on China. Now, I think they are going to be tough, especially on trade deals, but North Korea is really going to be the major focus of this administration. To be honest, it's America first, but I think America first means North Korea first when we're trying to focus our foreign policy. But that doesn't mean we can't push China in some other areas. We have trouble in the South China Sea, over Taiwan,
right,
and in the East China Sea. We've got to focus on those things as well.
And of course, we can't forget those man-made islands that are now being fortified for military use. Gentlemen, thank you both. We really appreciate your expertise tonight. All right, folks, thank you very much for watching. We're doing very well. It's all because of you. Now, here's Lou Dobbs.